sure that you ping your friends into the room so that they can check out today's music headlines and join the discussion by raising their hands as well. If you'd like to join us on video, you can visit our website where you can click on the video link to watch us in real time if you'd like to see what we are doing behind the scenes. That website is musicindustrycity.com. We're going to give the room just a moment here. The countdown will begin shortly, and then we will begin our headlines. I'd like to say hello to Angela, though, first. How you doing, Angela?
Hi, Eli. It's nice and sunny in the UK once again. I think that rain was just a blip. Long may it continue.
Excellent. It's always great to have some sunshine, as so many songs say. Excellent, excellent. And as always, if you have a headline that you would like to contribute, make sure you visit our website and share it with us so that we can share it here in the Music News Power Hour as we begin our countdown into today's headlines.
It is Thursday, the 24th of June, and this is the Music News Power Hour on the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. I'm Peter Schwing, and please join me in welcoming my co-hosts Eli Window and Angela Randall.
It's great to see you today. Welcome to the room. Hi, Peter. How are you?
Hello, hello.
Right on. And in today's news, music publishers aren't playing around anymore. Live events organization sued UK government. Tomorrowland and many others cancel. YouTube wins court ruling and Primary Wave's new acquisition. And as always, our daily Spotify update. These stories coming up right after this. But first, let's take a look at this day in music history with Eli Window.
This day in music history, indeed. On this date, 2013, we lost former Devo drummer Alan Myers, who died age 58 in Los Angeles, California, following a long bout with cancer. Myers drummed with Devo between 1976 and 1986, in memory. On this date, June 24th, 1944, born Jeff Beck, English rock guitarist. Also born this date, 1947, Mick Fleetwood, drummer and co-founder of the rock band Fleetwood Mac. Born this date, 1959, Andy McCluskey, from English electronic music band Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. Born this date, 1967, also Richard Sven Krustke, lead guitarist for the German rock band Rammstein. And born this date, 1986, American singer-songwriter Solange Knowles. Happy birthday. Moving on this day in music history, June 24th, 1990, New Kids on the Block's Donnie Wahlberg spent 2 days in hospital after falling through an unlocked trapdoor mid-concert in Saratoga Springs, New York. And on this date, 2012, Billboard.com named Olivia Newton-John's 1982 hit Physical as the sexiest song of all time. Other classic rock songs that made their top 10 were Rod Stewart's Tonight's the Night, Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On, Donna Summer's Hot Stuff, and another Rod Stewart contribution, Do Ya Think I'm Sexy? And finally, on this date, June 24th, 2016, a U.S. jury concluded that Led Zeppelin did not copy the opening chords of Stairway to Heaven from the U.S. band Spirit, saying the riff Led Zeppelin was accused of taking from Spirit's 1967 song Taurus was, quote, not intrinsically similar, end quote, to Stairway's opening. During the trial, defense lawyers argued the chord progression in question was very common and had been in use for more than 300 years. Let's remember there are only 12 notes after all. And that's it for this day in music history. Over to you, Peter. I can't hear Peter. Can anybody else?
This is where we summarize the most essential news for the fast-paced music industry. I'd also like to thank everyone who's viewing the show from Old Space VR and our video live stream.
Big green dot, it's the spot.
Sorry about that, a little technical issues. This is where we summarize the most essential music news in the fast-paced music industry. I'd also like to thank everyone who's tuning into the show from Green Room and on Space VR and our video live stream. To set the stage for a roundtable conversation, we begin by reading key sections of media pieces. If you'd like to provide commentary on one of today's topics, raise your hand during the reading. You can also join in the chat over there on Green Room in the text chat. We will be inviting people up after we complete the show. To stay up to date on all this and other programming, follow the Music Industry City group by tapping the greenhouse at the top, and you may register for free at musicindustrycity.com to obtain access to exclusive content. And remember to follow all the Green Button hosts and co-hosts and commentators as they take the stage. And now let's get to it. All right, this first one is from Music Business Worldwide. And to access all the articles mentioned in today's shows and throughout the week, visit musicindustrycity.com and click on the show notes graphic. Primary Wave acquires majority stake in music publishing catalog of AWOL Nation's Aaron Bruno. The deal encompasses some of Bruno's biggest hits across his career, including The Best Run and Not Your Fault, as well as the Diamond Certificate certified hit single Sail. Released in 2010, Sail was the first single off the debut album Megalithic Symphony. The single spent 79 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100 chart and has over 600 million plays on Spotify alone. Primary Wave says that the deal also gives Aaron Bruno's marketing team and publishing infrastructure, which includes digital strategy, licensing, sync opportunities, as well as film, television, and other theatrical production. Sail has achieved diamond status, 10 million that is, and holds the record for the most weeks on the Billboard Hot 100 chart by an independent artist, the second longest for any artist. The debut album also produced the gold certified Not Your Fault and 2 other top 10 U.S. singles. AWOL Nation released the sophomore album Run in 2015, and 2018's follow-up Here Come the Runts. Across the span of 4 albums, AWOL Nation has notched 7 top 5 alternative radio hits, including multiple number ones, and accumulated millions of sales, downloads, and over 1.5 billion streams globally. This is unprecedented. We've seen like acquisitions before decades ago. You know, we go through these ups and downs, but nothing like what we've seen in this past year. It's been absolutely bonkers of all these catalog acquisitions and mergers and acquisitions and everything. So with all that, let's go over to publishing, and this is from Billboard.com. Publishers aren't playing with lawsuits over licensed music. Who might be next? We've been following this a little bit over time. Over the past year, Roblox has become a popular online platform for kids and teenagers to create and play simple but addictive games, and apparently also uploads unlicensed music by artists like Olivia Rodrigo and The Weeknd to listen to at the same time. Now, the National Music Publishers Association is demanding that the company behind it stop playing around and start paying for music in a $200 million lawsuit filed June 9th. Now that streaming is an established business, the trade associations that represent rights holders are focusing more on ensuring they get paid by companies that incorporate unlicensed music into their products. One early battle was against the exercise bike startup Peloton, which the NMPA sued for $370 million in 2019 and settled with the following year. David Israelite, the NMPA president and CEO, says, "We are getting more aggressive. Tech companies keep making the same mistake and asking for forgiveness instead of permission. Not every NMPA publisher is participating in the Roblox lawsuit. Sony Music Publishing and Warner Chappell, whose parent companies have partnered with Roblox on in-game performances, aren't part of it. Warner Music Group made a Series H investment in Roblox in January, reportedly worth 8 figures. The company declined to comment. But rights holders see significant opportunities in licensing these kind of startups, a process that can sometimes involve litigation as well as negotiation. The RIA chairman and CEO Mitch Glazer says, "We seem to have run into a whole bunch of companies blossoming at the same time." The same day that the NMPA announced its lawsuit against Roblox, it also claimed it would ramp up its process for filing takedown notices for infringing content on the Amazon-owned live stream platform Twitch, in partnership with the RIAA. Although Twitch operates under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which offers its safe harbor from infringement lawsuits as long as it responds to such notices, filing them by the thousands can frustrate users and give rights holders leverage. In most cases, the end result of this maneuvering is a licensing agreement. The only question is when and on whose terms. Some stars postpone paying for music in order to focus more on growth. That's especially tempting if competitors aren't licensing either. In a statement, Roblox, which has 42 million daily active users, promised to defend itself vigorously against the lawsuit, adding that it does not tolerate copyright infringement. Moving over to distribution, 340, sorry about that. TuneCore artists have been upstreamed to Believe labels as part of Signed By program. DIY music distributor TuneCore and parent company Paris-based Believe have revealed that over 340 artists have been upstreamed to Believe and its label as part of the ongoing Signed By program between the two companies. Artists who release their music through TuneCore are identified as rising stars and eligible to be upstreamed. Elsewhere in the DI distribution market, Universal Music Group-owned TuneCore rival SpinUp has upstreamed over 80 artists to UMG labels. DistroKid launched its own upstream service in January, but is yet to reveal any stats for the service, which it was described at the time as, quote, world's first matchmaking service connecting unsigned artists and record labels. In the media release formally announcing the program, Believe states that through its label and artist solutions and artist services, it can provide global support for TuneCore artists whose career have reached a level where additional services and solutions will propel their growth forward. Those services include digital distribution, marketing, data-driven technology, artist development, and release planning. The 340-plus artists cited as having been upstreamed from TuneCore to Believe have also been signed by Believe brands, including Nuclear Blast, Naive, All Points, Groove Attack, and more. Artists who have been signed by Believe include Hilary Banks, a UK rapper, joined in TuneCore in 2017 with the single Come Over Me Yard. Banks was subsequently moved up to Believe in 2020. It's really interesting to see how these are being upstreamed. It's really good to see this artist development on the distribution side. And really quick, we're going to talk about NFTs. This one is a new music experience NFT platform. Atlanticus launches and drops exclusive Paul Oakenfold Magna Carta NFT. More of a press release about this, but it's co-built and curated by tech, music, and culture experts who strongly believe in the freedom of artists and curators to benefit from content-focused, decentralized networks. Atlanticus is a new musical experience-driven NFT platform offering exclusive experiences to creators and fans. So having its music at its very heart, the teams, they're honored in partnership with Hawken International to have secured a unique NFT involving the Magna Carta and a unique piece of music by the three-time Grammy Award nominee and international superstar DJ Paul Oakenfold as its first release. This original document, accompanied by the King's Writ, a one-of-a-kind letter from King John in 1215, is traveling from England to Washington next month, and we are lucky to have the opportunity to be part of the 800-year-old history by adding a 21st century NFT to it. With that, let's check in with Eli.
Definitely. Let's check in with me. So many crazy headlines happening today, but don't forget that you can join us here for headlines each and every weekday, Monday through Friday at noon Eastern. This is the Music News Power Hour. Make sure that you add your friends by pinging them into the room, and you can raise your hand or chime in the chat to join our discussion. Also, make sure that you tap the greenhouse icon at the top of the room so that you can join the club and get updates. And make sure also that you follow your moderators. These are the speakers on stage with the green moderator icon. You'll be notified when your moderators speak on Clubhouse. And also, if you're joining us on the video VR stream via our website, hello and thanks for joining us. Make sure that you follow and subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any information and updates from the Music News Power Hour and Music Industry City. Now, moving on in our headlines, we see live events organizations sue UK government over refusal to publish pilot event research findings. And with more on this headline, we're going to go to our UK correspondent, Angela Randall.
Thanks for that, Eli. Coming to you from the home of the original Magna Carta. Live events organizations sue UK government over refusal to publish pilot event research findings, coming to us from CompleteMusicUpdate.com. Live music trade body Live and a number of theater businesses, including Andrew Lloyd Webber's Really Useful Group, have launched legal action against the UK government, attempting to force it to publish the findings of its events research program. The legal filing accuses the government of breaching its, quote, duty of candor to be transparent when faced with a legal challenge, and says that none of the reasons given for withholding the events research program findings withstand scrutiny. As well as demanding the ERP findings be published, the organizations behind the legal action are also calling for the government to implement state-backed cancellation insurance, introduce less restrictive COVID quarantine rules, and publish full guidance on restrictions that will be in place when the sector is allowed to reopen at full capacity. The Events Research Program began carrying out studies of pilot events earlier this year with a view to establishing how the live sector might reopen with full capacity audiences safely as COVID rules were relaxed. Despite early indications that the pilot events have resulted in very few new transmissions of the coronavirus, a full report has not yet been published. Instead, pandemic restrictions have been extended to the 19th of July, nearly a month beyond the original target date for the return of full capacity shows in England. This has resulted in as many as 5,000 live events being canceled or postponed. Meanwhile, without any sort of state-backed cancellation insurance, many festivals due to take place after the 19th of July are calling off their 2021 editions, unable to risk a last-minute cancellation if COVID regulations extend again, and unable to get cancellation insurance on the commercial market. Numerous festivals have canceled summer 2021 dates in recent months because of that risk, with the Kendall Calling and Truck festivals joining the cancellation list in recent days. In their call for a change to quarantine rules, the organizations behind today's legal action say that currently, if one person in a theater production's cast tests positive for COVID-19, everyone else in the production has to isolate, even if they all test negative. This, they say, is yet another hindrance for shows in rehearsal. They're calling for a move to daily testing. Quote, the live music industry has been very willing to work with government for the last year to show that our industry can operate safely. Obviously, it goes on a bit more here, and it's making big news in headlines over here in the UK. Lastly, I just want to say critics accuse the government of withholding the results of the ERP because they contradict their current policy on COVID-19 restrictions. But earlier this week, the government said that it would publish the report very soon and refused to say exactly when. Obviously, with the ongoing sports tournaments over here, such as the Euros, which is in its third week this week, and other major sporting events planning to go ahead complete with full capacity tickets being sold currently, it does seem to be a bit of a lopsided reality with regard to the Department of Music, Culture, and Sport in the UK. We'll continue to keep you updated here from the Music News Power Hour. And with that, back to you, Pete.
Yeah, it's going crazy, and just going to update on this next article is Splendor Festival and Beyond the Woods cancel over lack of government guidance. And there's been numerous other festivals, thousands that have had to cancel. And so this one just briefly, DXP Family's Nottingham event Splendor and Beyond the Woods in Lincolnshire are two of the latest music festivals to be canceled following the government's delay in lifting COVID-19 restrictions. Family Director of Live, Anton Lockwood, told Access that the festival at Walton Park did not apply to be part of the events research program because they were, quote, expected to not be admitted. They, the DCMS, were looking for bigger events, ones like Wimbledon and Tramlines, that were more newsworthy. We never knew that they were looking for, and it wasn't us. Lockwood added that the delay to the ERP report was a huge factor in the cancellation, along with the lack of clarity and the huge risk of putting the event on. Obviously, festivals were supposed to reopen on the 21st of June, so presumably all this guidance that needed to be built the event should have been done as well, but it wasn't. He said, we've got no insurance, no guarantees, and no guidelines, so how can we run the event? We don't know how many toilets to order, for example, or how to lay the site out. If you apply toilets or stages or whatever, you're not offering refundable deposits at the moment. Lockwood said the festival is working on rolling out as many artists over to the next year as possible. He added that DXP's smaller Arboretum Sunset series that can be run with socially distancing will be open from the 25th of June, and the events are going 100% ahead. Moving over to more cancellations over in Europe. Tomorrowland declares 2021 festival officially canceled. Organizers of the massive dance festival in Boom, Belgium, said Wednesday that they have raised the white flag once and for all after local officials last week denied the festival a permit to hold two weekend events, which typically draws up to 75,000 visitors a day over its 6 days. The festival company said in a statement, quote, in spite of the detailed plans we have presented, the studies conducted by us, and the massive support and recommendations we have received, we have no other option but to postpone the 16th edition of Tomorrowland until next year. Tomorrowland said it reached a breaking point after the mayors of Boom and Rust, the adjacent cities where the festival takes place, refused to issue a permit on June 17th, citing concern about rising cases of the Delta variant of COVID-19 and the complexity of logistics to ensure health and safety checks for the crowd of 400,000 on August 27th through the 29th and September 3rd through the 5th. The festival cited the absence of, quote, balanced virological advice for making a new application pointless at this stage. So that was a tough word to get through. Organizers said they decided to stand down even though the federal and Flemish governments in Belgium had given the green light and had published a decree allowing events with up to 75,000 visitors a day to take place starting on August 13th. The festival company had added, considering our longstanding cooperation with the municipalities, we do not want to engage in a legal battle, and we do not want to appeal to the mayor's decision. Do not want to appeal the mayor's decision with the Council of State. The decision to cancel the events adds another dance music festival casualty to the COVID-19 pandemic. EDC Las Vegas and Ultra Music Festival Miami have already bowed out of their normal slots, with EDC rescheduling to October and Ultra to March of 2022. Burning Man and Electric Forest have also decided to focus on 2022. And let's move over to Germany. FKP Scorpio cancels August festivals. Highfield and Mera Luna, as well as returning A Summer's Tale, are the latest open-air events to call off their 2021 editions amid uncertainty in Germany. The alternative music event Mera Luna, which was scheduled for August 7th through the 8th, and Highfield, which was to have taken place August 13th through the 15th, have both been postponed until 2022, while the launch of boutique event A Summer's Tale, which went on hiatus in 2020, has also been delayed by a year. Like flagship events Hurricane and Southside, which were called off in March, all tickets for the rescheduled events remain valid. Craft Hub, Casper, and goes on the other highlights. And at the time, the FKP Autumn's events, including November's Rolling Stone Beach and Metal Hammer Paradise, are still on. There are currently no nationwide rules for major events in Germany, with the continually changing state-by-state rules making planning a festival a near impossibility at the time of writing. They go on to say, quote, as with Hurricane and Southside, we have done everything in consultation with experts to ensure that our August festivals can take place. However, despite falling incidences of COVID-19, we were ultimately forced to postpone it again, as the situation is still unpredictable because of the Delta variant, among other things. For this reason, in order to protect the health of our guests and teams, we have to wait another year until we can finally meet again in 2022 for an unforgettable festival summer. While we are in Germany, let's talk about Germany launches antitrust probe into Apple App Store business practices. The Boniface Federal Cartel Office, the FCO, says it will determine whether Apple has abused its market dominance. The watchdog will determine whether Apple has, quote, a paramount significance across markets that stifles any competition. This determination echoes the European Commission's antitrust division regarding Apple's App Store's policies and practices. The ECAD found that Apple distorted competition in the music streaming market. Quote, this preliminary review was a result of a 10-month-long investigation by the Commission initiated due to various complaints filed by Spotify. The ECAD found that Apple forcing Spotify and other music competitors to use its payment system was a form of market dominance. The two major objects raised, including objecting to the mandatory use of in-app purchase systems and preventing app developers from informing consumers of other payment options. The FCO president goes on to say a key focus of the investigation will be on the operation of the App Store, as in many cases empowers Apple to influence the operations of third parties. Apple is the fourth large tech company to face an antitrust investigation in Germany. The FCO is also investigating Google, Facebook, and Amazon for antitrust violations. And in January, the German parliament passed legislation to make it easier for the German government to regulate market power of each large tech platform. All right. And while we're talking about the Apple App Store platform, this is from Music Ally, and you can find all the show notes. You can find all the links to the articles in the show notes by going to musicindustrycity.com, clicking on the show notes graphic. This one starts off, Patreon CEO reveals its app is exempt from App Store charges. Fan funding platform Patreon CEO Jack Conte says he's been talking about an underreported aspect of his company, the fact that Apple does not take a 30% cut of money paid by users of Patreon's iOS app to creators. He goes on to say, I wish we had some special contract with Apple. We don't. Why don't we have to pay fees? I think it's because for whatever reason, we're within Apple's guidelines and we haven't had to pay fees, he goes on. He explains that when someone subscribes to a membership in Patreon's app, quote, we kick you to a web flow. If you try to subscribe, we don't have an in-app purchase button. Kicking users to a webflow is one of the things Spotify would have liked to do on iOS with its own subscriptions, while recently fan funding platforms FanHouse claimed it was being forced to add an in-app purchases button. Going back over, let's talk about YouTube. YouTube wins in court ruling on copyright breaches by users. Google's video sharing platform YouTube was handed a victory in a ruling by the Court of Justice in the European Union over breaches of EU copyright rules. The court said platforms cannot be held liable for users uploading unauthorized works, although they do hold responsibility for taking action to remove or block access. The decade-old dispute pit the U.S. platform against the record producer who sought damages from the platform because recordings he said he owned were re-uploaded online without his consent. The judgment also covers a second case in which publishing group Elsevier brought an action against file hosting service Synato. In both cases, the complaint said that platforms held the rights over content that was made available online by users. The EU's copyright directive from 2001 hands authors the exclusive right to greenlight or prohibit, quote, any communication to the public of their works. But the court found that, quote, online platforms do not themselves make a communication to the public of copyright-protected content illegally posted by online users. The court said platforms such as YouTube don't engage in such an act, quote, unless those operators contribute beyond merely making those platforms available to giving access to such content. That would cover scenarios under which an operator knew illegal content was available but held back from deleting it or blocking access to it. The court also found that platforms are freed from liability under an exemption granted by the E-commerce Directive of 2000. And there's more on this from Politico. Instagram is adding suggested posts into the feed to help keep you scrolling, and this is from TechCrunch. So if the days of scrolling to the end of your Instagram feed look to be coming to an end. After adding algorithmic suggestions to the bottom of the app last year, Instagram is running a test that would splice more recommended posts from your accounts you don't follow into the feed with those you do. In the next few days, the company will begin testing expansion of suggested posts, which would sprinkle that content through the regular feed. As it stands now, suggested posts appear at the bottom of Instagram after you've scrolled through all the content from people you follow and hit the "you're all caught up" message that the app implemented in 2018. Depending on how many accounts you follow, it's possible to not run into that message or Instagram's recommendations very often, if at all. In addition to boosting the prominence of suggested posts, Instagram will test an option that will let users snooze the feature, removing it from the feed for 30 days. Anyone in the test will be able to offer feedback when a specific post doesn't interest them, but it sounds like you won't be able to disable suggested posts in the feed in a permanent way. The suggested post expansion will be accompanied by a way for users to shape what they see through managing their interests, stuff like cats, makeup, or basketball. And if you've seen enough cats, you can toggle that interest off or tell Instagram that you never wanted to see those damn cats to begin with when it shows you the next one. A Facebook spokesperson described the expansion of suggested posts to TechCrunch as an extension of the Instagram feed, noting that the ratio of these algorithmic recommendations to posts from followed accounts will be variable based on how someone uses the app. So it's going to roll out, and hopefully this doesn't turn into something like what LinkedIn turned into, where it is just you don't even know, you're just scrolling, you have no idea who's making these posts just because somebody you're connected with commented, said awesome job, or gave it a thumbs up, and therefore now you're seeing that in your feed as these major posts with topics that you have no care for.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Peter.
Yeah, Instagram fixed that. Over in TechCrunch, super follows and ticketed spaces are coming to Twitter. In Twitter's latest appeal to one-up competitors from Clubhouse to Patreon, the company announced today that it will begin rolling out applications for super follows and ticketed spaces. Twitter first teased the super follow feature during an Analyst Day event in February, and super follows allow creators on Twitter to generate monthly revenue by offering paywalled content to followers who subscribe to them for $2.99, $4.99, or $9.99 a month. To be eligible, users over the age of 18 need to have 10,000 followers and at least 25 tweets in the last 30 days. Twitter will only take 3% of creators' revenue after in-app purchase fees, but on the App Store and Google Play, in-app purchase fees are 30%, which means the creators will take home about 2/3 of what their followers are paying. So going back to earlier articles, it's the App Store, it's the Apple App Store, and this is charging and all those in-app purchases, and that's where all these cuts and fees are coming from. So make sure you're paying attention to that. Once they exceed $50,000 of lifetime earnings on Twitter, the app will take 20% of future earnings after fees. When combined with the 30% in-app purchase fee, that leaves creators with about half of their followers' payments. Meanwhile, Patreon only takes between 5 and 12% of a creator's earnings. It bypasses in-app purchase fees since it's a web-based application, as we just spoke about. And while creators who primarily engage with their audience on Twitter might benefit from having a way to monetize without directing followers to another app, the difference in payout here is stark. Creators might not abandon their existing Patreon system for super follows, but at the very least, this could offer a supplemental income stream. So it goes on and deeper and talks about, ticketed spaces, there with versus Clubhouse, Spotify Green Room. Oh, hey Clubhouse, hey Green Room, how you doing? And ticketing on Stage Discovery Portal, but they aren't out yet. Through ticketed spaces, users can set their ticket price between anywhere of $1 to $999. Clubhouse and Instagram have features that let listeners tip speakers or award badges in a live audio space, but the apps don't just allow yet for advanced ticket sales. Another way for top creators to make money on these apps is through creator funds. Spotify Green Room and Clubhouse have both announced plans for creator funds, but it's not yet clear how earning potential will compare to its selling access to ticketed spaces on Twitter. And that's going to be it for those. And let's go to that section of the day.
Big green dot hits the spot.
It is that time. The big green dot, it hits the spot. We are moving into the Spotify spot of the portion of our program where we look at digital streaming and music technology. But before we do, we want to check in with your weather update. Just so you know, in your area, it is almost time for that itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini. So make sure you hit the gym. And over to you, Peter.
That sounds like that could be a song.
You know what? I think it could be. It has potential.
Yeah, it's kind of catchy. All right, with that being said, Spotify fan study, what it can do for you and what it can't. In an effort to help artists better understand their respective fan bases, Spotify is offering musicians access to a fan study, which provides valuable insights into the artist's reach and listeners' level of engagement. Spotify's fan study is the newest move of the popular streaming platform. It is supposed to help you understand your fan base better. Whereas more, it also claims to give you data insights into worldwide fan structures and consumption patterns. So it gives you some insights. I'm going to give you some of the bullet points here. It gives you new developments about your music's reach, insights to how you can enhance your fan base engagement, how you can better market your next release, and data about selling merch. And the layout is also clear. On the left-hand side, you see a quote for the area you're currently in. For example, for reach, you'll get Latin America discovers the most new music. On the right-hand side, you'll find a short explanation of the quote. Also, you're encouraged to log into Spotify for Artists to discover your best cities. The insight might sound amazing. Moreover, if you haven't checked which cities perform best for you, go and check it out. However, the trend that some cities in the world are literally gold nuggets isn't new at all. The concept of trigger cities has been around for a while. And a trigger city is a large urban city or metropolitan area in which a lot of streams can happen in a very short amount of time. This will trigger the Spotify algorithm to rank the music higher, resulting in even more streams, which again will result in more reach and engagement. And they also go on talking about merch here. It looks a little Spotify tries to sell old data insights and new developments, but, check that out. And the last statement from the Spotify fans is that vinyl, they'll say something like vinyl is a young person's game. And again, the biggest selling brands when it comes to selling vinyl, all young fan bases, bands like Arctic Monkeys and Royal Bloods are only the beginning. So this is like kind of things they give you these tips and everything. And so there's a little bit more to it. So check it out. I mean, I think Spotify does quite a number of good things to try to help artists understand the platform better and gives them some more resources, at least at their fingertips, than other platforms. And that's it for the reads. Over to you, Eli.
I just kind of want to echo that, Peter. I do agree that Spotify has a lot of metrics and resources available. And so if you are a musician and your music is on Spotify, I really encourage you to check out all of their metrics that are available to you so that you can learn who is listening to your music and who's loving your music. It might not be who you think. So definitely take advantage of those tools, because 25, 35 years ago, when Spotify wasn't necessarily a thing, it was very difficult to get a hold of these numbers. So now you can get them for yourself if you're an artist on Spotify. I encourage you to look at their metrics and everything they provide. It's very interesting.
We've covered in this room too the Apple Music option for consumers. So if you're on the other side, if you're not necessarily a creator, Apple Music has the cities option where you can find out what's new and exciting in your city, what local artists are doing, and what's popular in the area around you. So you can kind of, if you have access to both platforms, you can kind of take a look on Spotify to get the feedback, and then see if it's actually organically being created on Apple Music, and if they reflect the same, or maybe it's different based on who chooses to use Spotify and who chooses to use Apple Music. Definitely something to compare and contrast with. But I've definitely found new artists through the Apple Music Cities function.
Right on. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. And I'm going to head over to Green Room for the post-show discussion. If anybody's over there, I see you. How you doing over there? I see you. Everybody's in the chat, talking in the chat, so we're going to be popping in just a moment. All right, everybody. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.
Have a great day, everyone. Cheerio. It's great to see you. Have a beautiful day.